One of the most important things to know when it comes to documents and document flows in Business Central is the difference between an open document and a posted document. If you understand this, you will master not only the sales document flow, but any other document flow, and you will have a much better understanding of how the system actually works. Hello and welcome. In today's videos, we're going to be discussing the sales document flow in Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central. In my opinion, one of the most important things to know when it comes to documents and document flows in Business Central is this. If you understand this, you will master not only the sales document flow, but any other document flow, and you will have a much better understanding of how the system actually works. So pay attention to this, it's very important. What I'm talking about is the difference between an open document and a posted document. Now let's write it down and see what the differences are. All right, so as the word says, open means that the document not only can be viewed, but it obviously can be edited and also deleted. Nothing strange so far. Once we move to the posted document, it is important to remember that the document can always be viewed, it's always there to be viewed, but it can no longer be edited, and more importantly, it cannot easily be deleted. I'm saying not easily because there are ways to delete the document, but that involves like a more complicated process that usually requires to use other documents that we're not going to be covering today, but in later videos, in order to revert those changes that the posted document have made to the system. Now, when I say changes, I mean changes that affect the GL entries below, so the very core of Business Central and of any accounting and ERP system. Now that we have clarified that, let's move on and see in the sales document flow what documents we have, what are the players, and what are the interactions. Now keep in mind that this difference of the open and posted document applies not only to the sales document flow, but to any other document flow in Business Central. So it's an important distinction to keep in mind. If you're finding this video helpful, I'd like you to consider hitting that like button down below. It will help us understand if the video is something that you enjoy, that it's helpful, but also it will help spread the video to more people. So thank you so much for considering that. Now, let's get back into the document flow and let's plot some of the documents that we're going to be talking about today. All right, as you can see, I've started writing some names here on the board. Let's start and go through all of them. The first one that I wrote is the sales quote. Now, this is quite obvious. A sales quote is what is used when we go to a customer. The customer is asking us for some goods or services. We do provide them with a list of prices, then we send to them, and we call this a sales quote. Now, the sales quote is the initial step, and then once we have that, we've collected it, and the customer has confirmed which goods or services he or she wants, we are ready to move on to the next stage. And the next stage in Business Central specifically involves the option of choosing between a sales order and a sales invoice. Let's see what those differences are. Now, a sales order has a very important characteristic. It can be a little confusing at first, but it's very powerful once you learn it. A sales order allows you to ship goods before an actually invoice has been produced and posted. This is very important because, for example, in a lot of scenarios, let's say, for example, manufacturing, where we might have already some goods that have already been produced and they're ready to be shipped. They happen to be goods that the customer has placed on their sales order. So we can go ahead and ship some of those goods, even though they're not all of them, we can start shipping them to the customer. Now, we can do more than one shipment. We can send multiple shipments before actually producing the final posted invoice. So we can, space out the difference between the shipping and the posting. So we have two different actions that we can perform. So let's go ahead and plot that on our graph. The other option, once we have produced a quote, is to choose the invoice route. Let's see how that is different compared to the previous one. The sales invoice is different to the sales order because it only allows one action. Once the invoice has been produced and we've completed, we've made all the changes that we want to, we have only one action to immediately ship and post all the goods. So it's very important. This makes like a little bit less flexible, but also a little bit easier in some scenarios. So let's think, for example, an e-commerce where we know we have the goods already on hand. We are ready to receive an order from a customer, but we also don't need to wait to ship and post. We want to be doing it immediately, right away, and we have all of them and they're ready to go. So in that scenario, for example, the sales invoice allows you a shortcut and allows you less steps in order to produce the final result. So let's go ahead and plot that. Now, if you noticed, I use a slightly different arrow here to signify that it is only one action that goes out of the sales invoice and that produces two effects, like it posts the shipment and it's posting the invoice. I am using the generic term of posted shipment here. That scenario is a little bit more complicated than that, but for this video, we're going to be using this terminology just because we need this higher point view. We'll be making some more videos about shipments later date, and we'll dive deep into those concepts as well. So don't worry. But for the time being, let's just think that we are affecting the system, posting those shipments and sending them out to the customer. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there is a difference between an open document and a posted document. And as you can see here, we have two terms. They have the sales invoice and the posted sales invoice. The difference here is that this document has been registered and therefore it has affected the GL entries in the system. So while it is technically possible to delete this document, the actions have already been registered. So in order to remove or revert, to better say, revert those actions, we can't just like delete the document. We need to use some other documents to undo the changes that have been made once one of these two documents has been posted. We are not going to be talking about that in today's video, but we're going to be covering that in one of the following videos. So if you are interested and would like to learn more about Business Central, I will hope to see you in one of the next one. Thank you so much for watching today.